Welcome everybody to another episode of Candid Convos. Today's guest is Moshe Amsel. Moshe, can you please introduce yourself and let people know who you are?
Sure, Joe. Thank you so much for having me here on the show. Really appreciate the opportunity. So my name is Moshe Amsel. I'm the host of the Profit with Law podcast, as well as the Law Firm Growth Summit. And I help law firm owners create massive profitability of their law firm. I am a profit-first professional. My background is accounting, and I really help law firm owners focus on the numbers side of things. There's so many people out there that are helping them with getting more sales, doing better marketing, building their team, get staffed up. But when you, at the end of the day, when you look at why are you in business, it's because you want to generate profit, enough profit to change your life. Otherwise, you'd keep a job and have a paycheck. So there's not enough conversation happening around profitability, and that's really what I seek to change.
Mm-hmm. Now, Moshe, I know that you are a lawyer coach, but a lot of people tend to mistake you for a lawyer, and that's not necessarily true. So I'm just wondering, how did you become a lawyer coach?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. And what's funny is that people just assume that because I'm helping lawyers with their law firm business, that I must be a lawyer too, because the industry in general has plenty of coaches. It's not like there's a shortage of people to help law firm owners with their growth, but most, if not all of them, except for me, are lawyers who built their law firm to a certain level, and then they turned around and said, hey, if you want to see what I did, I'm going to show you what I did to achieve success. You can follow in my footsteps. And the problem with that is that they only know one way, which was their path to success. It's not a fundamental understanding of business and cash flow and profitability and capital requirement and all of that. So a lot of them miss those key pieces in what they're doing with their clients. As a matter of fact, there is a well-known coaching program that was coaching the first 5 law firms that became clients in my accounting practice. So they became clients because I was a profit-first professional, and they wanted to solve a cash flow problem, and they were seeking help with implementing profit first in their firm. And what was interesting is they all referred each other because they're in the same coaching organization. But what's crazy is that they all had on what I call surface level success, which is you look at the firm and it's got a beautiful office and there's multiple attorneys and they're all busy. It looks like everything is really massively successful. But when we went and looked at their finances and looked at their numbers, the owner was literally transferring personal funds to cover payroll and cover rent. Like those big chunks of cash out were being covered by them scrimping on their own lifestyle to be able to make that happen. And that's not healthy. That's not sustainable. And that's certainly not the way that you want to live. And it's not the way of creating a stress-free life. So what I notice is there's an opportunity in this industry, and the opportunity is for me to step into the industry and introduce a new idea around how to run the business of law. And I come from somebody with an MBA, somebody who's an accountant, who has a numbers background, and I take a very different approach. We don't do anything in your law firm without first having a plan written on paper. And I don't mean like a story. I mean, we have a spreadsheet that has the results that you expect to get from a certain project already predicted, but also the costs to implement that are already predicted. And we look at your profit margin. And if you're not predicting a profit margin between 35 and 50%, then that's not healthy. That's not a good project to go out and do. And the problem is most law firm owners are just doing. They're just executing because it feels right, or because they're just going through the motions of what falls into their lap each day, instead of being proactive with a very specific plan that's going to get them to the result that they want.
Yeah. The thing is that I think for many lawyers, it's not only that I think, I've heard so many lawyers and so many business owners also say that they're at a position where they don't know if they should be getting staffed up, because they don't know if they can afford it. But once they do it, they can double, triple, 4 times that revenue of just a single hour of legal work in there. But making that leap between not knowing if it's going to work and then, oh my God, if I wanted to grow a company, I needed to add people to it. I've noticed that that's quite difficult for people. Is that something that you encounter in your coaching sessions?
Absolutely. And I want to, this actually leads right into what I wanted to turn back to, which is the fundamentals of business, because this is a video show, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm actually going to take the liberty of sharing a slide in while I'm talking to help give a visual for this. But here's the backstory. As I was working with my clients, I realized that part of the challenge of, even when you recognize that you need to focus on the business like a business owner, and you need to come with a CEO mindset, and you need to have time every day that you're going to spend on the business instead of in the business. Like, people know all those things from books they've read and things they've heard. The problem is that we just had an event with over 50 sessions of amazing content, which means that you walked away with a book full of ideas of things that you need to implement. It's impossible for you to do them all. So the challenge is how do I know what I should be doing at any particular given moment? Like, what is the sequence of events? What is the order of operations to achieve success? And what I did was I created a framework. I call it the Law Firm Growth Formula. And I'm going to share the screen real quick so that you can see it. You can see it now on the screen, correct?
Correct.
So this is the Law Firm Growth Formula. This is what I use in my coaching program. This is what I take my clients through. And without going too deep into it, I'm just going to basically share the main crux of it, which is these big circles, which is plan is the first step. And it goes counterclockwise in this particular one: plan, then grow, then scale. And planning is something that is skipped entirely. Like, people just don't do it. And I can tell you that this is the number one secret ingredient for my elite law firm growth coaching clients. The reason why we were able to have somebody like Becky Torres, who you've spotlighted before, and we've had her on our podcast, and you can go listen to her story, who went from negative profitability to less than a year later being at a 36% profit margin, and she now sits at a 38% profit margin, and she I think doubled her revenue. I don't remember that number off the top of my head, but you definitely go check out her story on the Profit with Law podcast, and also her experience with Get Staffed Up, because she uses a bunch of Get Staffed Up staffers. But the reason that she was able to achieve that is because of the planning process. It's because we sat down and said, what do you want out of your law firm? What is your personal financial goal? How does that turn into what the business needs to create that for you in a healthy way? And then how do we make that happen? Holistically, let's look at this picture and say, how do we make that happen? So the very first thing is to be in the planning stage, and to plan for the growth of your business and the scale of your business. Now, the other key distinction is to understand the difference between grow and scale. In the grow phase is when you already have inventory in place. You already have capacity in place, and you have to fill that capacity. So I already have an attorney. I already have a VA. I already have a paralegal, whatever the staff looks like, structure looks like. It could be just you, but I already have that. And I want to maximize that. I want to get the most output from that capacity. And I want to do that well before I say, okay, let me add more. The worst thing you can do is take a business that's losing 10% a year and then say, I want to scale this up, because you're going to go from losing $10,000 on $100,000 of revenue to losing $100,000 on $1 million in revenue. You don't want to duplicate something or replicate something that's not working. You want to get it working first. So the grow phase is to really maximize the potential that you have in your current structure. And in there, you can see in the outer circles, that includes your marketing, your sales, and your automation, because all of those things are filling the capacity and then maximizing the use of the capacity, right? In the scale phase, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, we've maximized our capacity, and we're not going to 100%. We're going to 80%. We never want to be turning away cases. But when you're at 80% capacity, you should be highly profitable. And at that point, you also have the financial means to make that step and to take that action and say, oh, let me bring on a staff member. And in the scale phase is when you're increasing your capacity, and increasing your capacity comes from one place and one place only, and that's people. It could look like attorneys, it could look like VAs, it could look like everything in between. And that's where we have your team. And we also have systems here, because the systems is what allows you to bring people on. Systems don't make you more successful. They improve the customer experience, but the real purpose of systems is to be able to bring somebody on and delegate to them, because there's a system for them to follow. So systems are required for the team building to happen well. And then leadership is you showing up as a leader and putting leadership roles into your team so that the team can run effectively and can be managed effectively. And all of that happens on the scale side. And then we got to fill that up. So it's a constant circle of going from plan to grow to scale back to plan, and over we go until we've unlocked the freedoms in the middle. Your time freedom, your financial freedom, and then your impact achievement, which is your ability to make a difference in the world, however you define that. And it's so heavily tied to your ability to have time and money to spend to do that. So all those things three things come together to create the fulfilled version of you. And that's in like the 5-minute synopsis of what the law firm growth formula is. And everything we do with our elite coaching clients is to take this formula and turn it into something in reality for your firm. And because we have this process we follow, we're able to make massive differences in a very short time period, like 12 to 18 months can massively change. I mean, look at with the story with Becky, I think it was 9 months or something like that, where she went from negative profitability to over 30% profitability. And it's not like we didn't introduce any new marketing. We didn't introduce any new sales process. And people think that they need to focus on bringing in more clients to move the needle in their business. And the reality is that that's not where profitability is unlocked. Profitability is unlocked in efficient production, in pricing your services so that you can actually make money. There's so many pieces outside of marketing and sales that unlock the profitability. And once you've unlocked the profitability, now it makes sense to pour money into the marketing and sales so that you can produce more clients that are highly profitable.
Okay, so it's profitwithlaw.com/GSU webinar, and it's going to be showed in this video when we share it.
Awesome.
Well, Moshe, I am looking forward to next week. I'm going to be joining as a guest. I'm really excited that we keep working together and we keep seeing you more and more. I'm very eager to see how the next LFGS is going to look like, because guys, I was there in the first one, I was there in the second one, and I noticed a very significant upgrade. So I'm really looking forward to next one. But like I said, we've run out of time. So Moshe, thank you very much for sharing with us. Thank you for your time. And I hope to see you soon before the next LFGS.
Awesome, Joe. We're considering doing an in-person component. So we're considering doing it hybrid. It's still a decision I have to make, but part of the test for that is the workshop we're doing right now. See if we can put people in the room. And if we can, we might actually venture out into doing an in-person event with a online virtual model behind it for the people who don't want to pay up or cannot travel. But that's where we're looking for the next event. So stay tuned. And I really do appreciate you having me here on the show. It's an honor to be here. I don't take it for granted. And everyone who was watching, I hope you got value out of our conversation. I hope that we didn't waste your time. And I invite you to check out the various resources we provided, and definitely check out the podcast. I'm there not for my own good. I'm there for you, and I hope that you can learn some new information from some of the amazing guests that I bring on.
So you guys already know, check out Profit with Law. You can find it easily on Spotify and other podcasting platforms. Moshe, thank you again, and see you next time.
Take care.
Okay, so